We welcome in Joe Montana to the program. Joe, welcome. Mike Francesa, good to see you again. How are you?
Good seeing you.
How's everything?
Cheery as always.
Yes.
How about you?
Good. Where did I see you in the stands this year watching your kid play? What game was that at?
I think was it early in the year? I think it was up in Seattle. They were playing.
Where's your son playing?
He's in Oaks Christian in Southern California.
Okay. Is he? What year is he?
He's a senior. He just actually today was signed.
Way to go!
Yeah, he signed University of Washington. To go up there with Steve Sarkisian in the group.
Oh, okay, and he's obviously a quarterback, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, is he a player? I mean, would Joe Montana call him a player?
I call him a player. Yeah, he's got the ability. He moves around well. He throws the ball well on the run. Throws the ball well in the pocket. He's got those senses that it takes to be a quarterback. Steps up, moves, and he had a couple things where he's just going, he goes to get tackled, flips the ball forward, and he thinks and acts and plays that way. He has the ability, but he's only played the position at a high school level for 2 years, so he's got a lot of growth.
Well, it's interesting. I would have said years ago, boy, that's an incredible amount of pressure, but it seems like the Manning brothers have handled it pretty well. Their father was a famous player, and they've seemed to have been able to handle it very well. So it must not be as hard as we would think it would be to follow having a famous father as a quarterback, or as a great athlete.
And I think they feel it. They just don't show it a lot. At least the feeling I get, because they don't talk to me, they talk to my wife about it more than anything.
Is it hard to watch? Do you get nervous? Is it hard to watch? It's tough?
Yeah, it's no control. It makes me so mad. I mean, there are times I told my wife, if I have a heart attack right here, because especially the game up in Seattle, it was a big game for him, and they were headed up there to play another top-ranked team in the country.
Right.
And the quarterback there was committed to BYU, and Washington had offered him scholarship, so they had turned it down. Right. So he was going up there. He had just committed to Washington, so it was a big day up there, big game for him, and they won. So
you obviously will see things that he won't see yet in your experience. Will you be critical of him? Will you point things out to him, or you leave him alone? I mean, do you say things to him?
I'm always critical.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it can't get any better. I mean, everyone's going to tell you how good you are.
Right.
Somebody has to, that understands, someone has to sit there and say, hey, great game, but come here.
Right.
If you want to go, let's talk about things that you're doing. And so he doesn't always like to hear that, so he doesn't talk to me as much. But, when he offers and asks, I sit there and I'll tell him, because I think that, someone has to be honest with him about it.
That's amazing. Joe Montana's son now, so many of this generation. I was just saying that Barry Sanders was sitting here, and his son now is a running back. And I said, it's funny. I'm old enough to have done this long enough that the generation before this didn't produce that many offspring that were great players. I mean, Mickey Mantle had a bunch of boys. None of them were ball players. I've met most of them through the years. I can think of them. This next generation, Ken Griffey, I remember him playing for the Yankees, and look who his son is. Bobby Bonds, I saw him play. I knew him. Look who his son is. This next generation, Archie and this next generation has produced an incredible amount of tremendous players.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it's nice to see that it keeps carrying on.
Yeah, it's great.
Days.
I mean, it's great for the fans. So the fans get a kick out of it. There's such a recognition factor. It's easy to follow,
Yeah, I think you're right.
This guy. And now you have one of them in the game. Look at Archie's come here and watched his sons, two of them win
Super Bowls, I know.
and be MVPs, to be able to stand where you stand. I mean,
that's great.
Tell me, before we get to your product, there's no one you would rather ask this of. We're talking, of course, with the legendary Joe Montana. Give me the Joe Montana bird's eye view of these two wonderful quarterbacks and what you see about the two quarterbacks.
I mean, I think both of them, I think, have had tremendous years. Totally polar opposites, I think. You look at Peyton, and he is like the soldier-esque type. He's also the offensive coordinator, so he's got to do things a lot differently. So, he goes about it in
like
a methodical way. Yeah. And so he's in control of his offense a little bit differently than Drew is.
Right.
So he has more flexibility, but he does things more, nothing's pretty stoic. Nothing kind of bothers him, up or down. On the other hand, you got a guy who's very excitable, gets the guy that gets the team going before they go out on the field, and that's how he plays. He's going to let it go all over the field. He's going to take chances, not unnecessary chances, but he's going to put pressure on you. And if you try to get to him, he can get out of the pocket and he can throw the ball on the run and move. And so it's going to be fun watching that in the game itself. But that being said, they both had great years.
You know, it's interesting. You were, in my mind, the direct descendant of I'd put Joe Willie in between you, but he was always so hurt. But it was Unitas, and then you were the kind of the direct descendant, you know. And everyone wants to plug now Peyton Manning into the next lineage. He's a little different. He's much bigger, of course, but you know that it was Unitas, then it was you. You know, you were that next, the perfect field general, cool in the big spot and everything. And you know, you did have a lot of those same characteristics that Unitas had. Do you see that in Peyton Manning too? Do you see him as that next descendant in that line?
Well, yeah, you know, you look at him and you look at Brady, and
Tom's another one who fits
another
that.
guy that fits in that mold. And yeah, I mean, Peyton for sure. They've both had great careers already, and you know, if it stopped now, they both would have great careers.
Did you ever get nervous in this game? You never did, right?
Well, I think it's only natural to be a little bit nervous. And the way I look at it, I tell my kids, I go, you know, when I used to take a test. If I go in to take a test in high school, if you were prepared for the test, you weren't nervous because you knew the material. But if you weren't, you were nervous because you knew you were going to get graded, and you knew what that grade was going to be, right? So you're nervous. But there's a little bit of nerves that come along. But if you're too nervous, then that affects your game. But it's good to have a little bit of nerves, because that tells me one thing, is that you're conscious about what you're about to partake in, and that you don't want to do bad.